The void of space was calm around Erebos Prime, a small human colony at the edge of known territory. The colony was young, not even 20 years old, with only a few million settlers living on its surface. Its skies were still filled with new construction drones, and its orbital docks were small compared to the great shipyards of Earth. Yet for the people who lived there, it was home, fragile but hopeful. Commander Jace Wren sat in the command chair of the patrol ship Resolute. His ship was old by the standards of the core worlds, but it was sturdy. It was his duty to patrol the edge of Erebos space, watching for pirates, smugglers, or anything strange. Life on the frontier was usually quiet, but on this day, that calm broke. "Commander," said Lieutenant Marin from the sensor console, her voice tense. "We're picking up a distress signal, weak, very weak. Not human origin." Jace leaned forward. "Location?" "Near the outer asteroid belt. It's an old signal code, fading fast." The bridge went silent for a moment. Distress signals from aliens were rare here. Humanity had only met the wider galaxy within the last 50 years, and most of the great empires ignored this small human colony. Still, Jace felt a pull. Someone out there was asking for help. "Set a course," he ordered. "Let's find out who needs saving." The drifting ship minutes later, the Resolute dropped out of FTL near the asteroid belt. On the edge of the sensors, a broken ship drifted. Its hull was scorched, one engine gone, and no sign of power. Jace's crew studied it with careful eyes. The ship was alien, long and curved like a crescent. The outer plating glimmered faintly with strange symbols. "Life signs?" Jace asked. "Faint," Marin replied. "Dozens at most. Maybe less. Oxygen is thin. Whoever's aboard won't last long." Jace hesitated only a moment. The smart thing to do would be to call Erebos Command and wait for orders. But the distress call had said one simple word, translated by their systems. "Help." "Prepare a boarding team," Jace said. "We're going in." The crew armed themselves not with heavy weapons but with medical kits and portable oxygen. When the airlock connected, the smell of smoke and burning metal hit them. The corridors were dim, lit only by emergency lights. Bodies lay scattered. Some alien crew members were still breathing, but barely. They were tall, slender beings with pale skin that shimmered faintly under the lights. Jace recognized them from reports. They were Solari, a people known for their grace and knowledge of star navigation. But these Solari were in terrible shape. The human medics began working quickly. Oxygen masks were fitted, wounds were patched, and survivors were carried toward the shuttle. Jace moved deeper into the ship, guided by faint cries. The Pleaded found her in a collapsed corridor, half buried under a fallen support beam. She was small compared to the others, perhaps young, her silver blue eyes wide with pain. Her breaths were shallow and her hand clutched desperately at her chest. When she saw Jace, she reached out, fingers trembling. Her voice was weak, but the translator caught it. "Please. I'm begging you." Jace rushed forward, motioning for two crew members to help lift the beam. They dragged it aside and he knelt beside her. "You're safe now," he said softly. "We'll get you out." But her hand didn't let go of her chest. She kept pressing against it as if guarding something. Her eyes were filled with both fear and desperation. Jace frowned. "You're hurt," he said. "Let me look." The alien shook her head weakly but then coughed, blood at the corner of her lips. Her strength was fading fast. Jace made a choice. Gently, with respect, he pulled aside the torn fabric of her clothing where her hand pressed. He expected to see a wound. But what he saw instead froze him in shock. The secret beneath her skin, faintly glowing, was something not natural. It was a device fused to her body. Lines of silver light ran across her chest like veins pulsing with rhythm. Strange alien symbols flickered across its surface. It was alive, or something close to it. Jace had seen cybernetic implants before, but nothing like this. This was older than human space travel. It hummed faintly as if aware it was being looked at. His breath caught. "What is this?" The alien woman's eyes locked onto his. Through pain and fear, she whispered, "Not a weapon, please. Protect it." Jace didn't understand, not yet. But he saw the terror in her eyes. She wasn't just afraid of dying. She was afraid of this thing inside her being taken. "We'll protect you," he said firmly, though he wasn't sure how. "You have my word." The woman's eyes fluttered and she fainted in his arms. Back on the Resolute, the survivors were brought aboard the human ship. Most were placed in medical bays, but the young woman, whose name they learned was Lyra, was given priority. Human doctors were baffled. The device was fused at a cellular level. It pulsed with energy they couldn't identify. She won't last without it, the chief medic told Jace. But if we try to remove it, she'll die instantly. It's part of her now. Jace stood at her bedside watching the rise and fall of her fragile breaths. He knew already. Whatever that device was, others would come looking for it. And as if to prove him right, Marin called from the bridge. Commander, we've picked up long-range contacts. Multiple ships. Drexari signatures. Jace's blood ran cold. The Drexari Dominion was infamous even in human space. Conquerors, slavers. They were known for their cruelty. If they were hunting Silari refugees, it could only be for one reason. He looked back at Lyra. She had begged him to protect the device. He didn't understand it, but he knew one thing. If the Drexari wanted it, humanity couldn't just hand it over. The shadow of the Drexari. The Resolute pulled away from the broken Solari ship just as the Drexari fleet appeared at the edge of the system. Their ships were huge, spiked, and bristling with weapons. The colony had no defenses that could match them. If the Drexari discovered Lyra and the device, Erevos Prime would be doomed. Jace's first officer spoke carefully. Commander, the smart move is to stay quiet. If we're caught with her on board, they'll destroy us. Jace's jaw tightened. He looked around at his crew. They were good people. They hadn't signed up for war. But his mind returned to Lyra's desperate eyes, her plea, Please, I'm begging you. We don't abandon those who ask for help, Jace said finally. Not on my watch, the crew nodded slowly. They were afraid, but they trusted him. That was enough. The decision hours later, Lyra stirred awake in the medbay. She looked at Jace weakly. You saved us. Jace shook his head. We're not out of danger. The Drexari are here. Why are they after you? Lyra hesitated, then whispered, Because of what I carry. This device, it is not mine. It is older than my people. It is a key. A map. If they take it, the galaxy will suffer. Jace frowned. A key, a map? To what? He wanted to ask more, but alarms blared across the ship. Drexari ships are scanning the system, Marin's voice said over comms. They're searching. Jace looked at Lyra, then at the stars beyond the medbay window. He had to make a choice. Hand her over and keep his people safe, or defy one of the galaxy's most feared empires. And in his heart, he already knew his answer. Cliffhanger ending of Part 1A's The Resolute turned slowly toward the dark side of a nearby moon to hide from the Drexari. Jace stood on the bridge. The alien fleet was closing in. Lyra's voice echoed in his mind. Please. I'm begging you, Jace tightened his fists. Humanity had always been underestimated in this galaxy, but maybe it was time for the stars to learn what humans truly were. The Drexari wanted a frightened girl with a strange device. Instead, they were about to find out what it meant to face humans who refused to bow. The screen flashed. Drexari fleet approaching. The crew looked to Jace. He gave a single command. Hold the line. The bridge of the Resolute was silent except for the faint hum of its engines. Outside the viewport, stars glittered against the void. Yet among those stars loomed shapes, dark, jagged Drexari warships. Their silhouettes looked like floating knives, sharp and cruel, and every crew member who saw them felt a chill down their spine. Commander Jace Wren stood tall at the center of the bridge, his eyes fixed on the tactical screen. Red icons marked the incoming ships. He didn't need the computer to tell him what they were. The Drexari Dominion had arrived. They're sweeping the system, Lieutenant Marin said, her fingers racing across her console. Systematic scans starting with the wreck we just left behind. Jace's jaw tightened. How long until they reach us? Not long, she answered. Minutes, maybe. The crew shifted uncomfortably. The Resolute was a patrol ship, not a warship. It had weapons, yes, but nothing that could match even one Drexari cruiser, let alone 3. Everyone on board knew it. Lyra's warning Jace left the bridge for a moment and walked to the medbay. Lyra was sitting up now, though weak, her pale hands still pressed close to her chest. The glowing lines of the device beneath her skin flickered faintly. She looked at him with fearful eyes. They're here, aren't they? Jace nodded. Yes, the Drexari. 3 cruisers. They're searching for you. Her eyes closed and her shoulders trembled. If they find me, if they take this, it won't only be my people who suffer. They'll use it to enslave others. It must not fall into their hands. Jace crouched beside her. Then help me understand, what is it? Why risk everything for it? Lyra shook her head. I don't know everything. My people were guardians, not creators. The device is ancient, older than any empire. We only know one thing. It can open the way to something hidden. A power or a refuge I do not know, but the Drexari believe it will give them absolute control. Jace studied her for a moment. She wasn't lying. He could see the desperation in her eyes. Then we'll protect it, he said firmly. Her eyes widened. You don't understand, Commander. Entire civilizations have been destroyed for less. Your people are new to the stars. If you fight them, they will crush you. Jace stood, his voice steady. Maybe. But humanity doesn't abandon those who ask for help. The first threat back on the bridge, an alarm blared. They're hailing us, Marin reported. Put it through, Jace ordered. The screen filled with the face of a Drexari commander. His skin was gray and scaled, his eyes glowing like embers. Armor plated his shoulders, decorated with jagged spikes. His smile was cruel. This is Commander Verak of the Dominion, the alien growled. Human vessel, you are trespassing in our hunt. You have taken something that belongs to us. Surrender the Solari survivor and the device she carries. Do so now and your colony will be spared. The bridge crew looked at Jace nervously. The Drexari's words were clear, surrender or die. Jace stood tall, his voice calm but firm. She asked us for help. She's under our protection. Humanity does not surrender refugees to tyrants. Verak's expression twisted into amusement. Brave words. From a primitive ape, you think your fragile species can defy the Dominion? He leaned closer to the screen. You are nothing, and soon you will be ash. The screen went dark. Preparing for battle, Commander, Marin said quickly. They're charging weapons. Jace's mind raced. They couldn't win a direct fight. Not against 3 cruisers, but maybe they didn't need to. Humans had always survived not through strength but through wit, adaptation, and stubbornness. Helm, take us into the asteroid belt, Jace ordered. Stay close to the rocks. Use them as cover. The Resolute turned sharply, its engines flaring as it dove into the field of tumbling stones. Massive rocks, some the size of cities, drifted lazily around them. It was dangerous terrain for a large ship, but for a smaller patrol vessel it could be an advantage. The Drexari cruisers followed, weapons firing. Bolts of green plasma lit up the darkness, smashing into asteroids and shattering them into glowing fragments. The Resolute dodged and weaved, scraping by on the edge of survival. Return fire, Jace ordered. The patrol ship's cannons spat bolts of blue energy. They weren't strong enough to pierce a Drexari cruiser's armor, but they struck smaller escort craft, forcing them to retreat. Commander, shields are at 50%, Marin shouted. Jace stayed calm. Hold steady. They're bigger, slower. Use the rocks against them. Humanity's ingenuity. As the chase continued, Jace called his chief engineer. Rig the mining charges. I want explosives planted on the largest asteroids in our path. Within minutes, the Resolute released clusters of magnetic mines onto nearby rocks. When the Drexari followed, Jace gave the order. Detonate. The mines exploded, sending massive chunks of stone hurtling toward the Drexari ships. One cruiser managed to dodge, but another took a direct hit. Its shields flared and buckled under the impact. Cheers erupted across the Resolute's bridge. It wasn't a victory, but it was proof. Humans could hurt them. Jace allowed himself a brief smile. We may be small, but we're not weak. Lyra's revelation, in the medbay, Lyra felt the ship shudder as another blast hit the shields. Fear gripped her, but also wonder. These humans, they weren't surrendering. They were fighting for her. She called for Jace. When he arrived, sweat on his brow from the battle, she spoke quickly. There may be a way to help you. The device, it can link with technology. I don't know how, but if we try, it may give your ship an advantage. Jace frowned. You mean connected to our systems? That's risky. It could overload everything. Lyra shook her head. Or it could save you. He studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. Do it. The connection. The engineers worked quickly, attaching bioscanners and conduits from the ship's power core to the strange device fused to Lyra's chest. At first, nothing happened. Then the lines beneath her skin began to glow brighter, pulsing with energy. On the bridge, systems flared to life. Weapons charged faster, shields stabilized, sensors sharpened, painting a clearer picture of the enemy ships. It's working, Marin said in amazement. Commander, our systems are running at double efficiency. Jace grinned. Then let's show them what humans can do. Turning the tide. The Resolute darted through the asteroid belt like a predator, faster and more agile than before. It unleashed precise blasts at Drexari escorts, disabling their engines. When a cruiser tried to cut them off, the Resolute looped behind an asteroid and struck from cover, forcing the massive ship to waste fire on empty rock. For the first time, the Drexari looked unprepared. Their commander snarled across the comms. Impossible. No human ship moves like this. But it did. Fueled by the strange device, guided by human determination, the Resolute became more than it was. Yet the fight wasn't over. A Drexari cruiser finally landed a direct hit, shaking the ship violently. Sparks flew across the bridge. Shields down to 20%, Marin cried. Jace steadied himself. They couldn't hold out forever. But they didn't need to win. They just needed to survive long enough to reach Erebos Prime and warn the colony. The escape plot a course for Erebos, Jace ordered. We'll draw them away from the colony if we have to, but they can't be allowed to land there. The Resolute burst from the asteroid field, engines blazing. Behind them, the Drexari fleet gave chase. On the surface of Erebos Prime, civilians looked up as streaks of fire crossed the night sky, the battle above their home. Fear spread, but so did determination. Humans had faced worse odds before on Earth itself, in countless wars, and now in the stars that same spirit burned bright. Cliffhanger ending of Part 2 in the med bay. Lyra clutched her chest, the glow of the device growing brighter with every moment. Her voice trembled as she whispered to Jace through the comms. The Drexari will not stop. They will follow me to the ends of the galaxy. By helping me, you've made humanity their enemy. Jace looked at the pursuing fleet, his jaw firm. Then so be it. Humanity doesn't run from bullies. The tactical screen flashed red. More Drexari reinforcements had just arrived, twice as many ships as before. The bridge crew froze in shock. Jace stood tall, his voice unshaken. Then we fight harder. The screen went dark as the Resolute dove into the heart of the oncoming storm. The bridge of the Resolute trembled as another volley of Drexari plasma lit up the void. Alarms screamed, warning lights blinked, and smoke filled the air. Lieutenant Marin shouted over the chaos. Shields at 10%. Hull integrity failing! Commander Jace Wren gripped the edge of his chair, refusing to sit as the ship shook around him. His crew looked to him for strength, and he would not show fear. The tactical screen painted a grim picture. 4 more Drexari warships had joined the battle. Their combined firepower dwarfed the patrol ship. The Resolute was a candle flame against a storm, yet Jace's eyes were steady. Humans had faced extinction before. They had been outnumbered, outgunned, underestimated, and they had always endured. A desperate choice. Helm, Jace barked. Set course away from the colony. We'll draw them off. The pilot hesitated. Sir, that'll put us right in their center. I know, Jace said. Do it anyway. The Resolute's engines flared and the ship turned sharply, streaking toward the largest Drexari cruiser. The alien fleet adjusted instantly, hungry for the kill. In the med bay, Lyra clutched the glowing lines beneath her skin. Pain coursed through her body as the device resonated with the ship. Her voice trembled as she spoke over the comms. Commander, you cannot fight them all. Even with the device's energy, it won't last, Jace replied firmly. Then we'll make it last long enough. Humanity's stubbornness. The Drexari ships closed in, surrounding the Resolute. A storm of plasma bolts rained down, rocking the human vessel. Sparks flew, consoles overloaded, and crew members were thrown to the deck. Still, the humans fought back. Cannons spat blue fire at enemy escorts. Torpedoes streaked out, forcing Drexari ships to break formation. Commander, weapons overheating, Marin cried. Cool them manually, Jace ordered. If the computer fails, use your hands. Keep firing. The crew obeyed without hesitation. Humans were not the most advanced species, but they had something no machine could replicate. Grit. They refused to give up. The galaxy watches, unbeknownst to Jace, the battle was not hidden. Long-range transmissions from Erebos Prime carried signals across the stars. Other species, the traders, the diplomats, the silent watchers of the galaxy, were listening. On far-off stations, aliens gathered around holoscreens, whispering in disbelief. Humans. They're defying the Dominion? Madness. They'll be crushed. Or perhaps, one elder alien murmured, perhaps they are different. For decades, humanity had been dismissed as young, reckless, and unimportant. But now the galaxy saw something else, a species willing to stand against tyranny, even when logic demanded surrender. The turning point back on the Resolute, The ship shook violently as another hit ripped through the hull. Fires erupted on the lower decks. "Commander," an engineer reported over comms. "We've lost half our life support systems." Jace clenched his teeth. "Seal the damaged sections. Divert all power to shields and weapons." Then Lyra's voice came again, faint but urgent. "There is another way. The device, it can do more. But I need to guide it. I need to link fully with your systems." Jace frowned. "You mean connect your mind to the ship?" Lyra nodded weakly. "Yes, it will hurt me, but it may give you a chance." Jace hesitated. He didn't want to risk her life. But one look at the terrified faces of his crew told him the truth. They had no other choice. "Do it," he said at last. The link in the medbay, the engineers connected deeper conduits from the ship's core to the device. Lyra gasped as energy surged through her. Her eyes glowed faintly, silver light shining from her veins. On the bridge, systems leapt to life. Targeting became faster. Shields flared brighter. Engines roared with power. "Commander," Marin said in awe, "the ship feels alive." Jace's lips curved in a grim smile. "Then let's fight like it's alive." A human counterattack, the Resolute dove through enemy fire with impossible precision, guided by Lyra's connection. Plasma blasts that should have struck instead grazed past, missing by inches. The human ship spun, looped, and fired in rapid bursts, striking weak points in Drexari escorts. One enemy frigate exploded in a flash of green fire. Another's engines sputtered and died, drifting helplessly. Cheers erupted on the bridge. Humanity was hitting back, but the victory came at a cost. Lyra screamed in pain as the energy of the device surged through her. The medics tried to steady her, but she waved them away. "Keep going," she whispered. "I can endure it." The Drexari commander's fury on the Drexari flagship. Commander Veyrak slammed his clawed hand onto the console. "Impossible. How does that human ship resist us?" An officer bowed nervously. "Their vessel has changed, Commander. It fights as though guided by something else." Veyrak's eyes narrowed. "The device. The girl must be powering them. Very well. If they will not surrender, we will destroy them utterly." He raised his hand. "All ships, focus fire. Tear the humans apart. Humanity's gamble." The tactical screen filled with red as the Drexari ships converged. Jace knew they couldn't dodge forever. Even with Lyra's help, the Resolute was still just one ship. "Marin," Jace said quietly, "prepare the colony for evacuation. If we fall, Erevos must survive." She looked at him in shock. "Sir, that's an order," Jace interrupted. "We fight so they can live." The crew exchanged grim looks, but no one argued. They knew their place. Humanity might die here, but it would not die on its knees. A voice of hope. Suddenly, Lyra's voice rang through the comms again, strained but fierce. "Commander, the device is showing me something. Coordinates, a place nearby hidden in subspace. If we reach it, we might escape. It is one of the ancient havens my people spoke of." Jace's eyes lit with determination. "Then that's our goal. Helm, set course." "But sir," the pilot said, "to reach it, we'll have to pass straight through the Drexari line." Jace looked at the glowing screen, then at his crew. "Then we'll cut our way through." The final push, the Resolute surged forward, heading directly into the enemy formation. Plasma blasts rained down, but the ship dodged with impossible grace. Cannons fired, torpedoes launched, asteroids were dragged into the Drexari's path. The humans fought like demons, every shot precise, every maneuver reckless yet brilliant. Shields failing. Marin shouted, "Then fight harder!" Jace roared back. The crew obeyed, hearts pounding, hands steady. They had accepted their fate, yet in that acceptance came freedom. They would rather die fighting than live in chains. The galaxy holds its breath. Across distant worlds and stations, alien watchers leaned forward, eyes wide. The humans, they're charging the Dominion line. No one has ever dared. It is suicide. But still the humans fought, and something stirred in the hearts of those who watched. A whisper spread across the galaxy. Perhaps humanity is not weak. Perhaps they are the hope we lost long ago. Cliffhanger ending of Part 3. The Resolute burst through the Drexari line, engines burning hot, shields collapsing. The ship was battered, bleeding fire from its wounds but still moving. Ahead, space shimmered strangely, a hidden gate revealed by the device's glow. Behind them, the Drexari fleet roared in pursuit. In the medbay, Lyra gasped, her strength nearly gone. "Commander, the gate." It will only open for a moment. Jace stared at the swirling anomaly ahead. His crew looked to him, waiting for the order. His voice was steady, unyielding. All hands prepare. We're going through. The Resolute dove toward the shimmering gate as Drixari fire filled the void, and the galaxy held its breath. The Resolute surged forward, its engines burning like a star in the darkness. The shimmering gate hovered ahead, faintly pulsing with light. It seemed fragile, almost unreal against the black void of space. Behind them, the Drixari fleet roared in fury, plasma fire streaking through the void, aiming to annihilate the human vessel before it could reach safety. On the bridge, Commander Jace Wren gritted his teeth, his eyes locked on the glowing anomaly ahead. He could feel the strain on his crew. Shields at critical levels, engines stressed beyond limits, and the sheer exhaustion of dodging overwhelming fire. Yet he refused to yield. Humanity had never known surrender, and they would not start now. "Hold steady," he said, his voice calm despite the chaos. "This is it." Eyes sharp. "Move as one." Lieutenant Marin's fingers flew across the controls. "Shields at 5%. Hull integrity at 20. "Then we don't wait," Jace replied. "We go." Lyra's sacrifice in the medbay. Lyra lay on a reinforced biobed, her body trembling as the device fused with her energy. Her silver blue eyes glowed with intensity, the lines of light beneath her skin blazing brighter with every passing second. "Commander," she said weakly, "I need to push the device one final time. If I don't, the gate will collapse before you reach it." Jace knelt beside her. "You've done enough already. I won't risk your life." She shook her head faintly, a faint smile on her lips despite the pain. "No, this is not about me. It's about you, humanity. I see now what humans are capable of. You are more than I ever imagined." Jace swallowed hard. "Then we do it together." The final burst. Lyra extended her hands and the device pulsed violently. The energy ran through the ship, humming in its circuits, filling every conduit, every cannon, every shield. On the bridge, screens flickered, then stabilized. The ship shuddered but held together as if alive. "Energy levels are stabilizing," Marin said, astonished. "The ship. It's holding." "Now!" Jace shouted. "Full throttle." The Resolute leapt forward, engines screaming, shields blazing as it dove into the shimmering gate. Outside, the Drixari fired their last volleys, but the human ship disappeared into a flash of light before their weapons could touch it. For a moment, silence reigned. The stars seemed to hold their breath. Then the Resolute reappeared on the other side in a strange and vibrant sector of space. The hidden haven. They were not alone. Far ahead, massive structures floated in the void, ancient star bases hidden in subspace, shielded from the eyes of tyrants. Lyra's device pulsed, guiding the Resolute toward the nearest structure. Jace gazed in awe. "Is this real?" Lyra nodded weakly. "Yes, these are the havens my people built long ago. Safe places, power sources, knowledge, forgotten by the galaxy until now." The crew stared in wonder. They had expected survival, but instead they had stumbled into something far greater, a treasure trove of civilization, knowledge, and hidden strength. The Drixari's defeat, meanwhile. In normal space, the Drixari commander Veyrak stared in disbelief at his screens. The human ship had vanished. Every sensor was useless. He bellowed orders, but his fleet could not follow. "Impossible. How? They cannot escape." The communications officer hesitated. "Commander, I think they have passed into subspace. We cannot follow." Veyrak slammed his clawed hand against the console. "No, this cannot be. A primitive species. How dare they defy the Dominion?" The message spread quickly. Across the galaxy, the Drixari had failed, humiliated. The humans, small, reckless, new, had done what no other species dared: resist, survive, and vanish. Humanity's moment back in the hidden haven. The crew of the Resolute began to explore. The structures were massive, filled with technology far beyond human understanding. Lights pulsed with knowledge, and archives stored data from countless lost civilizations. Lyra guided them carefully. "All of this has been protected, waiting for a species brave enough to find it. You, humanity, you have proven worthy." Jace looked around, a mix of exhaustion and awe on his face. "We didn't come here to be heroes. We came to survive." Lyra smiled faintly. "Survival is only the first step. Now, you can become something more. The galaxy will know your name. A message to the stars." The humans began transmitting a message carefully encoded to the known galaxy. Not a warning, not a threat, an invitation. Humans of Arevos Prime are alive. We protect what is just. We do not bow to tyranny. Any who wish to join in peace may find us where the stars hide knowledge and refuge. Aliens across the galaxy paused as the message spread. Some were amazed, some skeptical, but none could ignore it. Humanity had shown courage, ingenuity, and defiance, qualities long forgotten by the older empires. Lyra's farewell days passed. Lyra had exhausted herself fully, the device now quiet beneath her skin. The glowing lines faded, leaving only faint traces. "Commander," she said softly, sitting beside him, "you've saved more than my life. You've shown me humans are truly different, brave, fierce, compassionate. You are dangerous to tyrants even without weapons." Jace smiled faintly. "And you've taught us something too. That knowledge is not enough. Courage and heart, that is what makes a difference." Lyra stood, weak but determined. "I will remain here for now to help unlock these secrets. But humanity, you must return to your world and spread your legend." He nodded. We will make sure the galaxy never forgets what humans can do." The legacy begins. The Resolute and its crew return through controlled gates to Arevos Prime, bearing knowledge, new allies, and the confidence that humanity was no longer just a small colony at the edge of space. They had stood against the Drexari, defied impossible odds, and unlocked secrets of a galaxy far older than themselves. Colonists greeted them as heroes. Scientists and engineers marveled at the technology brought from the havens, and across distant systems whispers spread. The humans of Arevos Prime survived the Dominion. They will not be ignored. Jace stood on the bridge once more, looking out at the stars. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and full of unknowns, but now humanity had its place. Not as pawns, not as victims, but as a force to be reckoned with. Lyra's device, quiet now, had done its part. But it had also revealed something deeper. The true power of humans was not in technology, nor in weapons. It was in their courage, their will, and their refusal to surrender. The galaxy would remember that, and humanity had only just begun. Epilogue months later, across the stars, humans were no longer seen as fragile newcomers. Other species who once dismissed them watched with a mixture of awe and caution. Tales spread of the Resolute, of Jace Wren and his crew, and of a small, silver-eyed alien who had shown humans the path to forgotten secrets. The Drexari Dominion, humiliated, retreated to their territory, wary of further human interference. They had learned what every other species would soon learn. Humans do not bend, humans do not flee, and humans are capable of greatness beyond imagination. And so, in the quiet of Arevos Prime, under the twin moons of the planet, humanity's legend began, one of courage, defiance, and hope that would echo across the stars for generations to come.